If you are wandering lonely as a cloud, you may find some good company in Cloud Mountain. Welcome everyone, this is Dimitri from nannuoshan, dedicated to the spread of tea and tea culture worldwide. Today I'll be revisiting Cloud Mountain, revisiting in a certain sense because we already have a nice video on it. Gabriele and Matthias did a tasting of it in the Great Outdoors about a year ago. But I think we've had it come back in stock after about a year. The exact same batch. It turned out to be extremely popular, and as we'll see, why. And so it seemed like a good moment to take another look at this rather unusual black tea. Some of the details will be in that other video, so I'm not going to go too much into this details like sourcing, particularly here. So you may want to check that out. It's worth a watch. Some nice descriptors and how to take tea in a meadow. But today is gray, cloudy, a definitely wintry January day, but seemed appropriate to visit the Cloud Mountain, also known as Yun Shan Ya Yun is the full title, which is might misquote this here, but it's literally Cloud Mountain, referring to the Yun County in Yunnan, the cloud, which is literally South Cloud, is the name of the province, and I think the last two refer to the taste. We really need to look that up. So I'm going to be giving it another taste, and with reference to comparing it with a couple of other black teas that are similar in that, to look at really what is so special about them. So briefly, Yun Shan is a black tea. It is made with these unusually large leaves, and the reason for that is that it is a Daijong cultivar, the kind of classic, and for Yunnan, and it's made from gushu trees, or that's a bit of a pleonasm, gushu, so large old trees, basically ancient trees, and probably that's the reason that it has some very particular tastes. It was harvested in 2019, so a couple years on now. We've gotten, after it completely sold out, back the exact same batch from the producer. Still really nice, and for 100 grams, it is sent in this box. So incidentally, if you want to order it in that size, and I think it's very much worth it, it comes in very nice packaging, so we're going to leave it like that, though we also have it available in smaller sizes. So I have here 4 grams, and I'm just going to start brewing it and give it a little taste and explore just what kind of makes it particularly unique. Also a bit of a pleonasm. What makes it unique? And this is going to be a bit of a quickie. I'm not going to go into too much depth here, but a little bit of a comparison is kind of nice. So I'm going to give that maybe some 45 seconds or so, approximately. Here I have already prepared, and not in the same way, in our sort of professional brewing mugs, a couple other similar black teas. This is a Meijan Hongcha and a Jinjunmei. They're both floral and fruity, and if you haven't tasted the Cloud Mountain, that should tell you something about its profile. It is unusually fruity, let's say that. This is really, I don't know. It's hard to, I don't pick favorites, but this is definitely a standout in terms of the black teas that we've had here at nannuoshan, and even amongst the fruity floral profile. That's definitely more than enough time. Here we go. And the first thing to notice is it smells really good. The first thing to notice is kind of the really acidity, and which has some slight negative connotations. When I talk about acidity, I really mean, in this case, or tartness, let's say. We're just discussing recently with Jens, German translator, the distinctions therein and how best to describe some of these particular flavors in tea. And Cloud Mountain is one of those where the word tart is definitely appropriate, and I think almost even the word sour. It is fruity. It has a fruity acidity that is already comes out in the nose. Which I think is fairly unusual. That's something usually you notice more in the cup, as it were, tasting it. But first I'm going to give a brief little taste as a baseline reference to these two, which I brewed for about 4 minutes. This is a different style, so there's not a one-to-one comparison here, but I'm just going to taste. I'm going to taste here these. Here there's also an acidity. Let me see if it's sort of true what I said. After brewing, the leaves here are distinctly more spicy, cinnamon maybe, cinnamon ginger, but not quite either. A little bit earthy even. Here's also a little bit of maybe a tad of acidity, but more savoriness. This reminds me, the smell of these leaves reminds me of like really some nice dumplings or steamed, like savory, possibly like a meat dumpling with a good amount of ginger there. There's definitely like cooked ginger. Hopefully it doesn't come across as sort of unnecessarily specific, but that's what it smells like. And that comes into the taste in the mouth as well, as opposed to the taste somewhere else. Chemical senses, nose, mouth. It's quite savory, actually, but spicy. There maybe there's a little bit less fruitiness. Here that's very much floral and fruity, and that's what's really the character of Cloud Mountain is like. I wanted to say that these are, yeah, both in the domain of the sort of lighter black tea style. So in contrast to, for me, like the typical Dian Hong, also from Yunnan, is like more in the direction of chocolate, particularly is common, or more cocoa than chocolate, and malty, really. That's the main word that's often used with Chinese typical black teas like Chimen Hongcha, also known as Kimun, and also very frequently with Indian black teas, very kind of malty. And these can be, even when they're done strongly, are not so much in that malty direction. A little less of that pungentness, even when there's a bit of bitterness. It's the strength is usually in these other aromatic flavors, so very intense aromatics. The taste test. Yeah, the first thing here, well, one of the first things is the texture is also particularly syrupy. In comparison, Meijun, This one, as it was done, has come out a little bit thicker. But there's a distinct viscousness here. And syrup is really like the closest analog. It's almost elastic in its feel. I find that very pleasant as well to come out in a black tea. The combination of the flavor profile with this just nice mouthfeel that glides in the throat, down the throat, and then riding on that is this fruitiness. And there's a number of ways to describe this. In the past, we said apricot, particularly like apricot juice. That was Gabriele's note particularly, and I find it fits very typically. Sometimes even these sort of what they call apricot nectar, like sieved apricot juice, sometimes with a little bit of added sweetener, because apricots are quite tart, but that tartness is really there. As well as I found like sour cherry, and then later in a slightly more floral side, lychee. Here, right now, today, at this very moment, this very tea, it's a little bit more peachy. But there's a bit of a continuum there. Peach is not usually, to me, quite next to like apricot, but maybe they're all stone fruits. There's a bit of, and cherry, there's a bit of a continuum there. That's really pleasant. And the florality is very broad. It's kind of a bouquet, really. I don't know. It's meadow flowers, white flowers, but maybe, let's say, I have to admit, in general, flowers and the distinct smells are a little bit of a weakness of mine. I need to improve my knowledge of flower scents. But I want to say that this is like a yellow rose, or like a yellow or pink kind of rose. Bit of a rose, but not, excuse me, particularly the aromatic red roses are, I assume, bred to have a particularly strong rose scent. And also the kind that are used to extract to make like rose water and so forth. This is a step back from that, but has something of that fullness there. One could even think of, in a certain aspect, lavender also has a little bit of this weight to it in the florality. I'm gonna go ahead and do a second infusion here, see if we can get that in. But already, like, this typical, the character of this tea has come out to the fore here. Now that this has cooled down a bit, some of the acidity is a little clearer. I don't know what to call that. It might be a bit grape-like in the acidity, like be a red grape or a green grape, or like my favorite kind that's green with a little bit of blush, like a muscat. Those are the best. But maybe also a little bit in the direction of a stone fruit. Not very distinct, in contrast to these other two have more of a clear fruitiness. This is very red fruits, kind of all the way, and that's, I think, also quite typical for a black tea's fruitiness to be kind of red fruits. So a little bit berries. Red apples don't really fall into that, but it seems as if, I don't know whether there's any real commonalities there, that something in, like even the red apple peel has a little bit more of some, I would also want to call that weight to the flavor, a little stronger. And this is very, very round, very smooth. There's a nice acidity, but it's not quite tart. And if it is tart, it's more tart like a very, 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 very mild yogurt. That's a little, strange of a distinction to make, but I tend to think of tartness as like kind of piquant acidity that almost stings, but generally in a very, very pleasant way. Sour fruits, particularly unripe ones, but also of cherries and apricots. Maybe not the most, maybe not super ripe apricots either, or plums. But a lot of plums have a nice, even when they're ripe, have a very nice tartness. That was probably a little oversteeped, but let's see how it's developed. Yeah, a little more bitterness there, a little more weight. This is, it still has both the florality and the acidity going strong. So that's what seems to be, I don't know, unique about this. That particular character that's not quite found to this degree in any other black tea, at least that I've tasted thus far. Whether this is due to the gushu material would be a little bit of a speculation for me to say, but I can imagine that that's had at least some influence on the way this has been on the final result, as well as presumably terroir. Daijong is seems like a little bit of a non-specific cultivar. The specific leaves and the old trees that may be used from will have something to do with it, but that's whatever it is has made this a really special black tea, and it's for good reason that people really took to it. So while supplies still last, I recommend you hie yourself to Cloud Mountain. All right, well, that's it for today. Thanks for tuning in if you've made it to the end. And I hope to see you in the future. If you like this video and this kind of content, please give us a thumbs up. Subscribe if you want to see more, and let us know in the comments both what other kinds of things you'd like to see, and what's your kind of favorite black tea? Do you go for the lighter floral ones, and have you had another gushu black tea, and what did you think of it? Au revoir.